Hello everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 2025 film 28 Years Later, and this is directed by Danny Boyle and stars Alfie Williams, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Jodie Comer and Ralph Fiennes. 28 years after the events of the first movie, there is a safe haven and a mainland where the infected still thrive. One member decides to venture into this mainland and opens a world of horror and discovery while seeking help for his sick mother. Now, this is one of, if not, my most anticipated horror movie of the year. I thought the trailers for this looked absolutely fantastic. I was really feeling a big zombie blockbuster on the big screen as well. I was just in the mood. And also, I rewatched the first two movies leading up to this one in preparation. And if you want to check my reviews out on them first two movies, guys, I'll leave it in the description down below. But with this having such a stacked cast, and the whole thing being filmed on iPhones, smartphones, I was very excited and intrigued. And I'm very happy to say that my expectations were met here. The world that Danny Boyle and writer Alex Garland have created here is nothing short of phenomenal. There seems to have been a lot going on in the past 28 years, especially on the mainland, where our characters kind of explore this location and us as the viewer go along with it. But it almost feels like an RPG game where we come across many different locations and many different characters that have learned to live amongst the affected in this world. But what they have created here is something massive in scope. Every corner that we peered around felt interesting, but also had to be done with caution because this is a very dangerous world that we are in now. But it really reminded me of The Last of Us a little bit, the whole look of it with the overgrown greenery, towering over buildings and walls, you know, the unmaintained rooftops collapsing here and there. But it just felt like a doomsday world would feel like. I thought the look of this movie was incredible. And pretty early on, I know why they want to do a trilogy, because there's so much to see here, you feel, that you just can't explore the whole world that this has become in a 2-hour movie. And I do feel like this has a nice yet simple story going for it. The first movie is basically a bunch of characters just trying to realize what's been going on in this world, and you know, not much to go on, but they try and find some salvation here and there. The second movie, I don't think it has any story whatsoever. I did not like that film. But here, it feels like there's a goal in mind with this young boy wanting to find a doctor for his sick mother, and he actually finds that there's a doctor living in the mainland, so he wants to get from A to B. But the excitement around that is getting to A to B is how much of these infected and these dangers lurk around every corner, and he's just got to watch his back for every single second of it. This movie has so many great characters from such a top-billed cast. Ralph Fiennes, who is always fun in basically a lot of things that he's in, isn't he? I mean, he's got so much charisma, he brings so much personality, and here is no different. He's fun to be around, but he also knows this mainland more than anyone, so we sort of learn a few things off him. Jodie Comer, who's this very confused woman because of her sickness. She sort of will say something and then forget it 2 minutes later, and she really does need help. But I think her Geordie accent was on point. She feels like a very caring mother in this movie, and I've never seen her put a bad performance in anything. I think she is a top actress, and this is no different. I also really liked Aaron Taylor-Johnson in this film. People seem to start giving him shit lately, like in Nosferatu and stuff. I don't know why. I thought he was fine in that. I think he's a really good actor, but here, he's awesome. He's kick-ass, and him and his son have this father-son dynamic played by Alfie Williams, and I really got invested in that because as a father now, I usually do with these movies, you know, that pulls me in a little bit more when them side stories are going on. But Alfie Williams, the young boy in this film, is the star of the show. He's actually our main protagonist, and I've never seen him in anything before, but man, he took to this like a duck to water. But I have to give him massive credit to stand out in a movie like this above all these great actors and actresses. I mean, that is some fiat for someone who hasn't really been in anything before. He is a great character. He is a caring young boy. He cares for his mother very much. But it's also a coming-of-age film, where at the start, he doesn't really know this mainland or anything. But then he does want to venture out on his own there and sort of take it all in, and he has to learn the ways of the world very quickly to adapt and survive here. But he's also making his own decisions. He doesn't go along with what everyone is telling him, and you can understand why. You get his reasoning, and I just wanted him to succeed. He's a character you care about. And because we care about these characters, because we like them, it makes the horror even more tense. You don't want these characters to come to any harm. And when the infected are on screen, it really is some edge of your seat moments. And there's been a little bit of an evolution of the infected over these years. There's a few different types here and there. The alpha, the most terrifying one of them all. So I thought that was a cool little idea from Danny Boyle there. But even though I do love my slow, retro, zombie style movies, there's no denying that the fast-paced ones, like in this film, are a lot more terrifying. But Danny Boyle, in so many scenes, makes the tension work so well in this film. The way he edits it with the danger closing in on our characters, the way he ramps the music up louder and louder, faster and faster. I mean, it all just works. My wife tapped me twice during this movie to say, oh my God, so tense, feeling her chest and stuff. And I have to agree with it. The first two acts of this film, they never let up. They are just rampant. And there's just so many scenes put together here regarding the infected that Danny Boyle has done brilliantly. Now, regarding Danny Boyle and his directing and editing, I have been very hit and miss on this director in the past. I mean, 127 Hours got nominated for Best Editing. I was just like, why? It was such a jarring experience. I know he's not the editor, but he does have the final say on how it looks. And 28 days later, I think there was some overkill in the directing, especially with how many Dutch angles he put in there and everything. But here, man, it all comes together so well. I think this is his best directed movie by far. But there's so many bold and unique different choices here, but it really pays off. I mean, there's some out of focus shots here and there with kind of like a blurred vision around our main central characters in the center of the screen, but it just pays off. It adds some realism to the world. There are images that are just flashed on screen here and there, but it tells you what happened in these locations. It gives a bit of history and lore to the world. And also there is some really entertaining kills here where people will fire arrows into these infected, but it will pause the camera on impact just for a couple of seconds there. Kind of like the VAT system in the Fallout games. If you know, you know. But all of these choices just make the movie stand on its own. It feels like a different blockbuster experience, but it's never overdone and it never feels too pretentious. I really like how Boyle threw some comic relief in one particular scene later on in the movie as well. I don't think this movie has too many comedic moments, but it just felt so welcome. I'm not usually a fan of comedy in horror, but in a world so bleak with not much hope, this was such a welcome scene, and it just took you out the movie for a couple of minutes there. Yeah, it was one of my favourite scenes in the entire film, actually. And a lot of people have complained about the ending of this movie, but I actually thought it was pretty damn funny. I don't think it's too much of a left curveball like a lot of people are complaining about. It does feel a little bit odd. But I do feel like this is going to be elaborated on in the next movie. I know you shouldn't judge in like a film because a sequel is coming, but there's no hiding the fact that a sequel is coming, and we are going to learn more about what went on there. But yeah, it was quite strange, but I thought it was really fun. But after the cinema, when it was all said and done, me, my wife, my sister, my brother-in-law had a little discussion about the movie. And I just feel like there's so much to unpack here. There are things that each person was bringing up that we all went, oh yeah, didn't really realise that. Just these little things here and there. And I can't wait to rewatch this just to sort of put them all together again. And I know when the trilogy comes out, this might make even more sense, but oh man, it just felt like this world had so much going for it, and there were all these little subtle hints at other things here and there. So I think there's a lot more to see than just on your first viewing. Now, one of the things I was really interested in going into this movie was the fact that it was filmed on an iPhone. I'd seen all the backstage shots and everything where he's got like 15 iPhones around one of the infected, and I don't quite get why he went with this decision. Look, I am not a massive techie guy. I don't really know too much about the ins and outs of filmmaking. It's something I really want to look into though. But there was never really a moment where I stood up and went, oh yeah, that's why he's filmed on an iPhone. Look, maybe he can tell me in an interview or something if I go and seek it out on YouTube. But I don't know if he's just trying to prove a point that these huge blockbusters can be done on an iPhone or not. I don't know. Now, there were a couple of negatives with this movie. One of them that was in the third act really felt a little bit off, involving one of the characters in the movie and their certain feelings transitioning very quickly there in such a weird way. Now, I can't really get into it because of spoilers, of course, but if you see in the movie or you go and see the movie, you'll probably know what I mean there. But that just felt a little bit out of place, especially for this character. And yeah, that was the one big negative about the movie for me. But I was just scratching my head going, yeah, that just does not feel right, especially after what this character has been going through for the majority of the runtime. Also, I know that I said there was a lot to unpack here, but there was some moments in this movie that had me scratching my head. It's not really to do with the story, it's more to do with the world that we are living in. I was just thinking, why? Why? One of them things is, look, this might be a mini spoiler, I don't know, but the infected in this movie, most of them are just naked. And I put that down to them over the course of 28 years, their clothes maybe ripping on the woodland after they're chasing people and stuff. They're not exactly going to go out and find a new outfit, are they? But that was my sort of take on it. However, that I might be totally wrong there, and that might sound ridiculous to you lot, but it wasn't just that. There was other things as well where I was thinking, why didn't they do that? My explanation, is it good enough? What I thought up in my head? But these are just minor little things that are more questionables than negatives. They never really took any enjoyment out the movie for me. However, guys, this movie definitely met my expectations. I absolutely loved it. It's not your typical zombie movie. It goes in a few different directions and is shot a little bit different, but just bear that going in mind. I can't wait for the Bone Temple now. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now. I'm going to give 28 years later a 9 out of 10. Man, I can't wait to rewatch this movie. And for me, it is easily the best one in this franchise. Even if 28 Days Later is a classic to some people now, I enjoyed this one the most. Okay, guys, at the end of these reviews, I always like to leave a little fun fact. Now, a fun fact for 28 Years Later is that this is Alex Garland and Danny Boyle's first collaborative film after sorting out their differences after they fell out after making Sunshine in 2007. Okay, guys, hope you all enjoyed this review. Don't forget to check out my other reviews of 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. Let me know what you think of 28 Years Later. Are you a fan? You're not a fan? I know this has been getting some mixed reactions, so I would love to hear your thoughts. I'll get back to you all, I promise. Please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel if horror is your sort of thing. Thanks so much, guys. You take care, and I'll see you all in the next video.